Oh, oh. Hello, everybody. Welcome, come in, join in. So yeah, Derby lost. Derby lost 1-0 to Norwich in a game that was. Oh man, that was so. Me personally, before the game, I'd have said I'd have been happy with the injuries and obviously the obvious difference in quality between the two teams. I said if Derby kept it to about a two-goal deficit, I'd have considered that a success, just because of seven injuries and the disparity in quality, between the two teams. There's a reason they both are where they are. So to come away disappointed that you don't even get a point is such a weird feeling. It's such a strange feeling. I felt across the 90 minutes, Derby were actually the better team across the entire game. For the first 20 minutes, yeah, they weren't great, and Norwich were really, really good, particularly down the side. So Derby were basically playing 4-4-2, and they were moving this block pretty well, to be fair. But they were getting down the sides really well, Norwich, particularly on the left, Derby's left side, where Forsyth and Kamil Uzviak were. And particularly in the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes or so, they were getting down that side too easily. So Aarons was just flying up there, and then the other midfielder would be either Buendia or Todd Cantwell who'd pull over. And the movements are so smart and they're really, really good. And it looked like it was hard to communicate who was trying to mark who. And often it was usually being left to mark Buendia. I mean, and that to me just won't work because he's not a defender, right? Asking your midfielder to mark another very tricky midfielder, to me, just isn't. That isn't putting Kamil in a position to succeed. So yeah, they were. And Cornell McDonald on the other side was having a bit of a tough time. There were a couple of diagonals that went over his side. It looked like he didn't know where his marker was. But they actually they tightened that up in the second half. That's credit to whoever had noticed that and changed that, because it was an issue, and had they not corrected that issue, they were going to get punished. Max Bird was really good defensively. I felt he was not as good as he has been recently, but I felt he was better off the ball in an attacking manner, and he was pretty good on the ball as well. He was trying to break the lines more, and we've seen this from him a bit now, trying to run and press those lines and break them more and play forwards. He had one where he wins the ball back in the Norwich half in the first half, and usually makes a really good run from outside to win, and there's just a little bit too much pepper on the ball from Max, and that was a wasted opportunity. But I felt he was pretty good defensively. Though there were two instances in the first half. Cantwell had one of them where he runs from like a deep six position and he just sprint, and Bird reacts late to the run, and that was the second time that had happened in the half. I can't remember. It might have been McLean. I think that's when Bird gets booked, where he just breezes straight by him. Bird reacts late to that run again, but. Part of that is Bird reacts late, but part of it is like the run is timed very, very well, and Norwich are quality outfit that sometimes they're going to do those things. But I thought Max overall was pretty good. Thought Graham was quite quiet today. And at the end, he's got to score. Like some people say, he was being closed down. Some people say it wasn't. Like he has got to score that. There is honestly no excuse for not putting that away. Like I get that, but I get he was being closed down. But there is no goalkeeper in that net, and you've got to have more composure than that. That's a big moment, when you've just got to put it away. You've just got to put it away. Wayne had a bit of sympathy for him in the presser because Rooney said actually the ball took a bobble, and I didn't notice that live. I didn't notice that at the time. It looked like he just leaned back and it went flying over the crossbar. But yeah, them's the breaks. You've got to put them away. Kazim Richards, even before that, Kazim Richards has a chance and he's got to bury that. Colin's been missing a couple of them lately. Now, don't get me wrong, I think he's passed up a few chances before, but he's always put the next one away. And at the minute, he's not getting the next one fed to him, so he's got to start putting them chances away. He was getting some flack actually because people saying he's been very poor since he signed his deal. There is that, but since he signed his deal, he's also been playing with a pretty bad hip injury. been playing through painkillers and injections, and it's kind of caught up to him. You can see, if you go back and kind of watch it now, you can kind of see this sort of slide from probably the Forest game, just really start. It's obvious that he's played for about 5 weeks not fit, which is an issue. That doesn't excuse his form being bad, because today I thought he was better in the second half, but the first half I thought he was poor. Things weren't sticking to him, and when they were, he was selling passes short. Second half he was much better, but the first half he was poor. And yeah, overall for the last month and a half, he has been ineffective for the majority of the time. But again, it comes with the caveat that he's probably not been fit for about a month, and he's still been rolled out there. So yeah, a little bit of sympathy for him. Shout out to the centre backs actually, and we'll get on to Derby's goal because it's not a good one that they concede. But the centre backs actually, Ted Mengi and Andre Wisdom were brilliant today. Really good. Timu Pukki had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. And believe me, it wasn't like this was a bad Pukki game. This was a good game from Mengi and Wisdom. Like, Pukki still did all these, he's got such clever movement. He'll drop in. He likes to pull into those half spaces, just either side of the box, and he's got really good movement once he's in the box. But Mengi and Wisdom were just very switched on today. They passed him off really well when he was trying to float between them. They always stayed goal side of him, apart from like one instance where Mengi wins an initial battle with him, and I think Pukki gets a lucky break and the ball falls back to him. That was the only time he got goal side of Mengi. So credit to Wisdom and to Mengi on that. Ted and Mengi, by the way, has been just absolutely brilliant for the last 5 games. Now, it's a small sample size, sure, but if there was opinions after his debut that were good enough to write him off to say he wasn't ready, then I reckon the last 5 games that he's played are good enough to say that he's very good. And I think I addressed this in the last video we did, that people were saying, is he really better than what we've got in the academy? The answer is yes, by such a wide margin that it's a baffling question. He's special. He really is special. He reads the game so well. He's very switched on. And I think what aids him now in his younger years particularly is he's got a turn of pace. So when he makes a mistake or he miscontrols a little ball, he's got a turn of pace that he can recover from that and get in front of the striker really well. In fact, he had one of those against Pukki where he's trying to go down the side and he just walls him off really well, using his speed, knowing where the ball is going to drop, so he knows where to get in front of Pukki as well. Really switched on. Turns away crosses really well as well. Like, there are some crosses that get tossed in and he just gets a toe to it. He flicks it out. He anticipates it well. He knows when he follows in his striker and then the cross goes in behind him, he's got really nice open hips to turn and then get the cross out there. Like, he's so good, and he's good in the air. Now, there have been mistakes. The Millwall game, he falls asleep and Millwall score the goal, and I've spoke about this before. It's a killer mistake, but across that game, he was their best defender by a mile in that game. So yeah, Tedden he's been excellent. He's been absolutely excellent. He's got better with every game, in my opinion. He's been absolutely brilliant. Cornell McDonald was good. First 20 minutes, pretty much like the rest of Derby, he struggled. So there were a couple of balls that were floated in behind him, and he didn't really know where his marker was or his runner was. Second half, he was excellent. In fact, the last 10 of the first half, he was really good as well. Was getting forward a bit more, was winning his one-on-ones a bit more. And then in the second half, he was really good, providing a lot of width down that side, getting involved with Patrick Roberts. Patrick Roberts was good today as well. Honestly, there was no bad performances today, which is why it sucks. Like, that performance against every other team in the league today that had probably got at least a point. That's why it sucks, because they were good today. Like, they really were good, and they created better chances. But yeah, McDonald was good. He was fine. Rooney, I asked him about it in the presser afterwards. He said he thought Cornell did really well, considering the environment he was in, going up against Buendia and McLean and Cantwell and even Pukki, who drift over that side. Yeah, he was good. He did really well. I think that's. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Derby goal. Oh Christ! It's such a bad goal to concede. It's 2 errors from Forsyth. Really, the first one is He sells Shinnie short on the pass now, but he can see that Kieran Dowell is behind Shinnie. Shinnie doesn't know he's there, and Forsyth has Bird just sort of 5-10 yards over, or if you want, just clear it upfield. But it's a sloppy pass, and then he tries to recover, drags him down. It's a good free kick by Dowell. It gets it up and over the wall and gets it down again in time. It is a good free kick, but it's so sloppy to give the ball away there when there was no need to. That's another thing why the result's frustrating. Like, the Norwich goal doesn't come from Norwich carving Derby open. Derby shoot themselves in the foot, and they do that a lot. Like, not only this season, but last season they shot themselves in the foot a lot as well. As we remember the game against Forest, the game against Millwall at home, the game against Wednesday at home, last season, shooting themselves in the foot. They do it too often, and again, it's come back to bite them. But overall, yeah, I think we've got through everyone there. Yushviak and Lawrence were very good in an attacking sense today. Yushviak struggled going the other way a little bit. But I actually thought, for the first half, I thought Camille was Derby's best outlet going forward. He stretched them 2 or 3 times, got in behind. Crosses were getting cleared for corners. At least they weren't getting sliced out for nothing, or were just being picked up easily. So at least they were kind of dangerous. But yeah, we know where the story is there with Camille in his final ball. And Lawrence was pretty good, pretty direct. Beat a couple of players, and he was always sort of buzzing around Camille as well. And those two I thought interacted and had good chemistry throughout, particularly the first half. Let's get evening Nav. Hello everybody in the chat, by the way. Hello. Lack of quality in the final third once again cost us getting a point. Yeah, it did. Yeah, and when you consider, like, Rooney didn't really have that many options, because Waghorn and Gregory and we're on the bench, in the stands, injured. Lack of cutting edge once more costing Derby, and if they go down, which I don't think they will, but if they do, it'll because they don't score enough goals. Because, like, defensively, their record is pretty good, especially since Rooney came in. They've had a couple of shockers. The game against Cardiff, the Reading one, where there were really 3 really soft goals. Generally, their record defensively has been pretty spot on, but they just don't score enough, and they don't create enough. And today they did create enough, and then they just passed up those chances. Ted and Mengi had a really good chance off a corner that he called, and Tim Krul actually put off a really good save. But, like, Kazim Richards should have scored, Shinnie should have scored. There were a couple, like, Bird had a chance to pull the trigger on one. Lawrence and Yushviak in the first half, both of them were kind of passing it to each other. Neither of them wanted to shoot and take up a half chance. Yeah, they're not clinical enough. I think they're shot shy as well. They feel like every shot has to go in, and just, you want them to maybe be a bit more shoot on sight, a bit more trigger happy in that scenario. But yeah. Hello, Joel. Pretty deflated tonight, Ryan. Story of our season, being unable to take advantage of periods of dominance. And in this case, like, for me, it wasn't even periods. Like, in this case, Derby were better from 25 minutes onwards, Derby were better. So for the majority of the game, it wasn't like they had a 10-minute spell here and a 20-minute spell there. They were the better team, which is why it is annoying. And they created the better chances. And the goal that Norwich score is because Derby shoot themselves in the foot with sloppy play. I mean, it's weird, isn't it? If we'd have sat here and Derby had got beat 2-0 and very much outplayed, we'd have kind of been okay with that because we'd have expected that. I'm not saying we'd have been happy. You can accept it more because that's probably what we expected. But to put on the performance they did and then still lose the game, that's a kick to the bollocks, and it's going to hurt. 5 games left, Ryan. Do you see us getting the 6 points that's probably required? Chris. Yeah, I do. I think I think they'll beat one of Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham. Now that's leaving it late because obviously I think that's 2 of their last 3 games. But I think they can beat Blackburn. Blackburn are not the same team that came here in September and put 4 past them. Blackburn are a very different outfit right now, one that look a little bit strange. Swansea, I know Swansea won today, but that Swansea team are so unusual. They're kind of doing their own version of what Forest did last year, where they looked very much in control up until sort of Christmas time, and now they've just absolutely started to capitulate. So I think, and Derby were much better than Swansea when they played at Pride Park. So I think they're after this game now, like Blackburn, Preston, what we got, Birmingham, Swansea, Wednesday. Like, they're all winnable games, particularly if they show up like what they did today. They're all winnable games, But yeah, like I see them getting the 6 points that they need, absolutely. Norwich have the second best defence in the league for a reason, and we're disappointed not to have taken a point. It's disappointing when it's disappointing, but you'd like to think against less defensively sound teams we'd score. Jono, yeah, I think that's fair enough. The caveat to I think if they turn up like that again against these next 5 games, they'll win those next 5 games. The problem that this team has had all season is, well, goals, but consistency. You know, in December, they absolutely thrashed Birmingham 4-0. They then turned up at Wednesday and were, in my opinion, really poor. You know, the Luton game, I thought against Luton, they were very, very good. They could have had more than the 2 they got. And then against Reading, they give away these 3 soft goals. And it's just, you never know what you're getting from them. Brentford, they were awful in the first half and should have had 4 put past them. And then they could have won it in the second half. You never know what you're getting with this team from half to half. So it's okay saying, yeah, we should be okay if we're like that against less defensively sound teams. It's producing that performance again that's the issue. And that's where it's so hard going into the next 5, not knowing what you're going to get from them. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's so difficult to try and replicate that because they've not done that all season, really. They had that little patch where they had 4 1-0 wins on the bounce or whatever it was, but that's really been it for the entire season. They've not shown many patches of consistency. Thoughts on McDonald? Hope I answered that earlier, Sam, if you were around for that. Ryan, will he be with us next season? I assume you're talking about Mengi and not me. The idea is that I think Tedden, it's up to Tedden. I think Derby absolutely want him back. Manchester United are very open to letting him go out on loan again. And I think the Wayne Rooney connection is, well, obviously a big one to lean on. So yeah, I think I would be surprised if Tedden wasn't at Derby next season. Let's put it that way. I'd be very surprised if Tedden was at another club. What else we got in here? What else? Yeah, it might have been Joel. Joel, was you the one that was slagging Tedden off after his debut? Was it you? I checked my mentions. I thought Roberts was good today. Always looks good driving with the ball. Got into some good areas. Just needs to shoot. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, he was good today. And I think this is part of the problem that he has is that when he drifts inside, he's always kind of looking for the shot, and you know, rather than going on the outside and looking for the cross, obviously because naturally he wants to be on his left. So yeah, if he is always going to cut inside, you'd want him to try and get 1 or 2 shots off, or at least a little bit. But he is very, very lively. He beat his fullback a few times today, beat his man a few times. Him and McDonald linked up really well, particularly in the second half. He's a tricky customer, but he's like all the other Derby wide players. He's got some consistency issues. You never know what you're going to get for them, and I suppose maybe that's par for the course for flair players typically. Where some days they turn up and they take on the whole world, and other days they can't even beat the first man from their corners or set pieces or whatever it may be. So yeah, but he was pretty good. I'd be surprised if he was here next season. But yeah, he's certainly not done his next move any harm, because I believe he's out of contract at the end of this year as well. Man City are very happy to just let that wind down. What do you make of the potential new owner? Okay, the good stuff. He's going to lift Derby out of debt. That's very welcome. That is, in fact, that's the most welcome thing. If nothing else, Derby will be debt free, and that's massive considering the amount of debt that they have accumulated in the last 2 years, especially. So yeah, that's very good. Players and staff will probably get paid on time, so that's really good. In my opinion, very unwise to be giving interviews already. Like, the deal has been agreed, but he doesn't have the keys yet. He's not the owner yet. So why is he giving interviews? Would be my question. Why is he giving interviews? He's talking about, I saw some of the bullet points from Rob Dorsett's interview that he's done with him. I'm not sure if the interview's out yet. I just saw what Rob tweeted, and the gist of it was, I will spend loads of money. All right, wicked, mate. But there is still FFP. There is still FFP, and there's going to be a wage cap that's coming in soon as well. Now, look, owner telling you good things and you believe in them, that's natural. Player does that. Manager does that. They all do that. The proof will be in the pudding. You know, if he says, well, if a player costs £20 million, we'll spend £20 million. Cool. What kind of wages are they going to be on then? And then also, if you're buying £20 million player, if you're buying a £20 million player, you're probably going to need like other £20 million players to supplement them, right? Because you can't just plonk one in and go, there you go, away you go, drag us up the table. It don't work like that. It won't work like that. They sure as shit won't be spending 150 million in one window. They might not even be spending it in 2 windows or 3, because again, FFP and maybe a move towards a salary cap. So I thought the fact that he's already given interviews was actually quite rash. So yeah, and I actually think, has Alonso not had to walk back his boxing thing as well? That he was a manager and promoter of boxers rather than he was a boxer. So even there, like walking some things back, there are some good signs. He's very well connected at Real Madrid. You know, I didn't know Ramon Calderon had brokered the deal, but you know, Sky Sports reported that. But I reported that he was close with Ramon Calderon, but I didn't know to what extent. Turns out he was brokering the deal. Didn't know that. So yeah, he's very well connected at Real Madrid. He's obviously very wealthy. He's got, you know, this is a consortium, so it's not just him buying the club. This is a consortium. Steve McLaren is staying on, Joe. That Steve McLaren and Wayne Rooney are basically like a pair. If you get rid of one, the other one probably leaves. Because obviously, as we always have to point out, Wayne Rooney is technically unqualified for his position. We always have to remember that. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, he's in the position and great, he's there. But technically, he's still unqualified. So you need someone there with him. So as long as Wayne's there, Steve will be there. Please don't ask me if Steve will be there anymore. As long as Wayne is there, Steve will be there. So yeah, I don't mean you, Joel. I mean generally. Like, didn't this Barry the Ram person start that McLaren was leaving and everyone? Because I get asked it frequently now, not just by you, Joel, my man. Sorry, that didn't mean to sound like it was just you, but I get asked it frequently. It's like, yes, McLaren will be here for a while. Like, he's around. He's going to be around for a good while. I'd assume as long as Rooney's around, McLaren will be around for the exact reason that I just talked about. So. Yeah, there's a few red flags about the owner. Don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, there are far less red flags about Eric Alonso than there were over BZI. There are far less red flags about that, and we were all excited about BZI, and there were loads of red flags about BZI. So be more encouraged about Alonso, but there are red flags, and in my opinion, it was unwise to start going on the radio and giving interviews already when reportedly the EFL now want to know where the cash is coming from. Kieran Maguire, I think, was on a podcast recently. It might have been one of your guys' podcasts. If it was, forgive me, I've forgotten it. But he had said that the money is coming from Indonesia. So that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. There are red flags, sure. His political leanings. I knew there was some. His political leanings. So yeah, we reported that right now the association with Vox was he was not standing for them. Or running as a candidate for them. His name and likeness had been used unfairly, and it was now with legal. Now, we had that from multiple sources. That wasn't just one source that told us that. We had that from multiple sources. Now, I understand people have been, there was stuff, he follows some on Twitter, there's some on Facebook, and this, that, and the other. But, like, legally, I can't just write, well, no, he doesn't, because I've been told that it's now with courts, and we were told that from several people. So that one feels like a very dicey issue, and we're going to put that, we're not going to forget about it, but right now we're just going to put that over there, and we're going to deal with that in a minute. So, yeah. Right, I think we're wrapping this up. Ultimately, for both club and for Mel, it's better stuff. Yeah, P Hodge 99 for Mel as well. This is good for Mel as well, because he's clearly tired. He's either ran out of money or he's clearly tired of funding the club, and he's also unwell. he's also unwell and he's mismanaged the club. I think ultimately he'll be remembered as an owner that had a good heart, but practically made a lot of the wrong decisions. So yeah, I think it's a good time for him to sell. And look, you wish him well and his health well, and he's going to be around as I think an unofficial advisor. So it's nice to keep him around. And obviously, by what Rob Dorsett tweeted, Stephen Pearce is going to be keeping his job as the CEO. I understand that the recruitment team will be looked at. Right now, that's there's no concrete structure as to how it will be looked at. It will just be looked at, and good, because it needs to be looked at. So yes, right, we'll wrap up there, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Everybody take care. When are we next? Saturday, Blackburn away. So I'll speak to you next Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. Bye. Hope you're all well.